Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishna is Nazir, Parak Test, Chapter 9, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Today's day of learning is sponsored in memory of Eleanor Gail Rosamovsky, Ita Golda Bas Avraham Yosef, by Barry Steinberg, Neshama Shavan Aliyah.
Amen.
Okay. Parak Test, Chapter 9, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Hagoyim Ein Lehem Naziris. A non-Jew does not have Naziris. Even though a non-Jew could actually, designate an animal as a sacrifice, they can sanctify an animal as a sacrifice and bring it as a sacrifice. Nonetheless, when it comes to the vow of Naziris, they don't have that. The Torah excludes them, and if they make a neder of Naziris, if they make a vow of Naziris, it'll have no effect. They could drink wine, become a lamate, they come from corpses, cut their hair. Okay. Now, Nashim va'avadim yesh lahen naziris. Women and slaves, meaning a non-Jewish slave owned by a Jewish person, they have the ability to become a Nazir. A woman can become a Nazir, that's explicit in the Torah. That an Eved can become a Nazir is because basically a what we refer to as a Canaanite slave owned by a Jew is considered to be, the wording is partially converted. He's subject to mitzvahs like a woman. And we also have a verse that includes a Eved Kanani, that an Eved Kanani can, although again they're not considered completely Jewish until they're freed, nonetheless they have the ability to make themselves into a Nazir. Okay.
And that's voluntary on their part.
Correct. Now, right, they're making that vow. No one's forcing them into that. Now, at the same time, the Mishnah is now going to contrast the Naziris of a woman and a slave. There is a stringency. There is something stricter regarding Naziris by a woman than by servants. Shehu koifes avdai, which literally translates means he can force his servant, and a koifes ish, but he cannot force his wife. And what that means is like this. That means if a slave will not be fully healthy, here from the bottom, unless he drinks wine, or if he needs to do work in a place where he will become tameh, his master can force him to do so. So even though he took on the Naziris upon himself, if his Naziris interferes with his being a servant, because clearly the Mishnah, in the times of the Mishnah, drinking wine was considered healthy. If you didn't drink wine, you can become unhealthy, and no master wants his servant to become unhealthy. Or whatever work you want him to do, it necessitates him becoming tameh, then the halacha is the master can force him to do it. He is subservient to the master, even though he made a vow. Nonetheless, his subservience to his master comes first. His vow takes hold as far as it doesn't interfere with his being a servant. Okay, that's when it comes to a servant. However, but he can't force his wife to drink wine to become tameh as long as she's a nazir. Meaning, if he decides now again, we're going to see, like any other vow that a woman makes, especially ones that are considered even nefesh, causing affliction to themselves, the husband has the right to actually annul it or to cancel it, and he can cancel it, but he has a limited amount of time to cancel it. He can only cancel it on the day that he hears about it. Well, if it's past that day, or he actually goes ahead and he says, "I'm happy you did it," then he can't do anything about it anymore. And he then cannot, so as long as she has the vow of Naziris upon her, the husband cannot in any way force her to break it. Okay? Now, that's the stringency that you have by a woman being a Nazir more than the servant. Now, but there's a stringency by servants that you don't have by women. Shumei for nidrei ishtoi, as I just said, a man can cancel his wife's vows, meaning the vow of Naziris is no different than a vow of a woman. If a woman just forbids herself to drink wine, that's called nidrei in a nefesh. That's called a vow of of self-affliction, of afflicting herself. That's one of the vows that's one type of vow that a husband can cancel. If it interferes with their marriage, he can cancel the vow. Okay, so over here, this Nazir, we say that, by the fact that you're not going to be able to drink wine, that's considered a inui nefesh, an affliction of oneself, and the husband has the right to cancel it. So he can cancel his wife's nether, naziris. Mayfair nidre avdai, but you can't do that to your slave. You cannot basically cancel it. Mm-hmm. Again, as we said, the halacha is that he can force the slave if it interferes with his being a servant, but as far as it doesn't interfere, then the slave has to keep the vow of naziris that he kept, and the master has no way to cancel it. Now the Mishnah continues. So that is the stringency of the servant over the wife. The wife could be canceled while the servant's naziris cannot. Now, heifer leishtoi heifer oilamis. If he canceled his wife's vow, it is forever canceled. That's it. She made a vow, he cancels it. If, let's say, he divorces her, let's say he dies, they don't remain married. They're not married anymore. That's not like, now it comes back. It doesn't come back. He canceled it. Heifer la'avdai, if he canceled for his servant, which doesn't mean that he canceled for his servant. It just means that there were points of time where he had forced his servant not to keep the naziris because he wanted him to drink wine to stay healthy. He wanted him to become impure from a dead body because that's the work what he needed done. Mm-hmm. So then we say like this, Yatza l'cheiris, once he goes free, mashlim nazirusai, he has to complete his naziris, which basically means that just because the master forced him to break it, that's not a cancellation. So it could very well be that this servant could take upon himself to be a Nazir, and for a whole month he's not going to keep the naziris if the master wants him to keep the nazir, has reason to say that no, you got to drink wine, which we say is a health concern, or you got to do certain types of things that make you impure. So all those things don't cancel it, as we said before. And once he gets free, he has to make it up. Now, making it up means that, he automatically is a Nazir. Now, if let's say his Naziris was just say for 30 days, right? And he was a slave for 30 days, and then his master freed him, okay? And every day he had to drink wine. So when he becomes free, right, how many days of Naziris does he have to keep?
All 30?
All 30. Because at the end of the day, the days that he did not observe the Naziris cannot count towards his vow. So he was allowed to do it. It didn't cancel the Naziris. It could have been practically speaking that while he was a servant, he wasn't observing Naziris, but he is essentially a Nazir, and if he becomes free, then he's got to keep it. And he has to keep it as many days as he drank wine or whatever he did, because those days cannot go towards the fulfillment of his vow. Mm-hmm. Now, avar mikeneged panav. Literally translate means that if, let's say, the slave left his presence, he passed from in front of him. You know what that means? He ran away. Mm-hmm. He ran away. Okay. Now, in this state of running away, what do we say? Drink wine? Don't drink wine? I mean, he is a servant. Yeah. And this Mishnah is assuming that the wine is a necessity for health. It seems like it was those days. So therefore, what does he do? Theoretically, I shouldn't say theoretically, he is a Nazir. Just because he ran away doesn't mean he's not a Nazir. If anything, now that he ran away, he can observe his Naziris, right? So why should we even tell him to drink wine? Why doesn't he drink wine for? So Remeir Oimer, but on the other hand, he should drink wine because the master wants him to drink wine. So he should stay healthy. Rabbi Meir says, Lo Yishta. He should not drink wine. Why? So they explained Rabbi Meir, the explanation of Rabbi Meir is, although not drinking wine may weaken the slave, Rabbi Meir considers it a greater benefit to the master to forbid the Nazir slave to drink wine, that he will feel deprived and want to return to his master. It's really a way of getting him back. Okay. That's what kind of a basic thing this drinking of wine was. Rabbi Yossi says no, he has to drink. That means that just as a slave can be forced to drink wine while in the master's home, so they can be permitted to drink wine even when he is away from his master, since this is his master's best interests. So again, I don't know if anybody's going to walk around forcing him to drink wine, but no one has to stop him. He's allowed to drink the wine because the assumption is, and again, even Reb Meir seems to agree that that makes sense to say that he should be permitted to drink wine because that's the master would want because it's for his health. And the point is that eventually, either he's going to go back, meaning according to Rabbi Yossi says better he drink, stay healthy. Why? Because eventually the master is going to get him back. That seems to be the assumption. They run away. They don't get away so fast. So he's going to come back. He's going to come back. He wants a healthy servant. He used to drink wine, and therefore he's permitted to drink wine. So the argument between Reb Meir and Reb Yossi is basically what's the best thing? What would the master want most in this situation with his servant? Does he want him not to drink wine because that'll get him to come back quicker? Or does he want him to drink wine because eventually he'll get him back and he wants him back healthy? Have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Rabbi.
Rabbi.